Hi everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Lydia Joseph Kigera. In this platform, I talk about my stories. I talk about my ordinary life because I'm just a regular girl who come to you with stories that you can relate to, talking about my struggles and extraordinary triumph. And I have put most of those stories in a book that I'm finishing now. I don't want to say that it's ready because every time I'm about to publish it, things come up. I could have finished by now, but by the time I wanted to publish it and release it, I realized that there is something that was missing. I was not being honest, and I had hidden some part, I had given out the interesting part of my life, and I had hidden those that I felt could embarrass me. But when I went to my dad and told him about my stories and what I had written and compiled, he reminded me of something that happened during my childhood days. And I remember it vividly because it was a competition that had been placed in the Young Nation segment to write an essay about self. And they had said that the first prize was a vacation for two. I approached my dad with excitement and told him that there was a chance for us to go to Dubai if only he could have written that essay with his English. He asked me, "What do you have to tell people about yourself?" All I told him was the little basic composition that he had taught me about my name, my father's name, my mother's name, and my siblings' name. And that was it. And I remember engaging him and telling him, "Dad, you have to write for me because I don't have anything else. And I don't think what I have was going to help us to win that vacation." My dad told me that he wasn't going to write because he wasn't going to lie. But he encouraged me and he told me that he believed that I was going to grow up, and in that process, I would create enough stories that I would be able to write without telling somebody else to help me. So last year, around March 2018, that was the time now I took the stories I had compiled to him, and I had given him a chapter about environment because I know my dad loves environment. And this is what he told me. And I had written that post in Facebook. You know, Facebook doesn't forget. This was last year, March 2018. And I had written this. There was a time you wanted to use my stories. Now you are all grown, and all the way back, you have created your own stories. I believe in you now in the same way I believed that you will live long enough to create and tell your stories to the world. Keep telling them, and the world will listen. This is what I had hashtagged. Even if nobody else will listen, I'm happy that my dad has listened. I am now motivated to write at God's speed because this is a prophecy that is being fulfilled. So my dad read my work and he told me that I was flowing and I had good grammar, although I needed to make some improvement. But he also told me not to worry much about that because in the book industry, there are some editors who can assist you with that. He told me what I had to focus on at that point was to tell my story the way I felt like. In that regard, he told me to narrate that story, the same story that he had read. So what I had written and what I was telling him was different. And he told me that was the point of asking me to narrate because he knows that many writers are not honest and are not transparent when writing their stories in a book. He was proving a point, and because he wanted to know whether what I had written is what I was going to speak. And I had not mentioned about my mom, but when I spoke about that story, my mom was all over. And my dad told me that I should be honest. I should express what is in my heart, and I shouldn't hide anything. A good writer is one who has honesty and transparency. That is why I changed that part. Let me read this small part to help you to know why I had hidden. My dad, George Deuri, is a man who has done so much in terms of conserving our environment, especially in our Laikipia County. He loves and take care of natural environments and all natural habitats, including water masses, birds, wildlife, and especially trees. Back at our farm, my dad has a botanical tree farm where he has planted a variety of tree species. I'm going to go to the last line. Normally, he assists you through the process, and once the tree have been planted, a tree tag with your name on it is mounted as a permanent proof that you did that good work. The enthusiastic tree planter go back home happy that they had planted a tree. My dad get back in the house feeling happy that he made yet another person plant a tree. He then wear his reading glasses and switch back to finish his many projects, reports, and schedules. The young tree seedling is subjected to new conditions and it may not even withstand the harsh weather without proper care. It is my mom who gives the cherished care that this tree needs for the first 2 weeks. She makes wood chip mulch and waters the plant until the roots are fully established and firmly holes in the ground. We live in the farm where we do open field grazing and we have free range poultry, so she restricts them in an area where they cannot destroy the sprouting leaves of the young tree. She makes the tree flourish to maturity and leaves it standing and admirably strong. Its beautiful sight always attracts people to read the tree tags to identify the person who did this fantastic job. Sadly, my mother's name is not written in the tag, despite playing the most dominant role to make this tree stand. Even if she never did it for recognition, she should have been celebrated as well, and the tag would have included the names of those who planted the tree as well as those who nurtured it to grow. Sad indeed. But that is the plight of millions other women who are the force behind the beautiful sceneries that we see on earth but are never mentioned in the limelight. Women who accept that their work don't matter and surrender their fame to others. Women who tirelessly till in lands that they don't own, in paperwork, and after the hard labor, their husband sells the produce, claiming the title deeds has their names on it. Women who manages properties that yield profits, benefiting everyone else except herself. Women who have distinct knowledge of nature, yet they don't have a stake in environmental topics. I didn't want to show my dad that I was using both of them as an example of how women are left behind or are overlooked. After that incident, I decided to do the same thing to all of my stories and all of those chapters in that book. Record for myself. I wanted to listen to myself so that I could compare what I had said and what I had written. So you will notice that some of those videos have very bad lighting. They may be dark, they may be too bright. Some others are full of grammar mistake. Whatever you see in some of these first videos, bear with me. That is how I started my channel, and I decided that I'm going to put out those videos in the channel the way they are. So after the deep hurts and injuries, the wounds slowly started to heal. The sores that were added no longer burned. Some scars disappeared, and even the deep ugly one became so faint that they could not be easily traced. At that point, I sat on my bed. I reflected on my healing journey. I reflected on the survivors, and I whispered to God, "It must be your power. It must have been you, God. No one else could deliver me from such." My life has been a song. It has been a song with many verses, but the lyrics have been changing. I wrote down all the songs about the struggles and the survivors, the challenges and the changes, the equations and the solutions, victimizations and victories, songs of storms and calms, songs of tests and testimonies.